Another mystery that a seeker unfolds is transmutation of energy. When you have just begun your pilgrimage, you are simply an anarchy of energies. Your lust, anger, attachment, greed, and ego are all mixed into each other, and you are busy moving from one chaos to the other. The path provides a definite color to your energies. You can tell the difference between one and the other. You are no longer like a blurred spectrum of a rainbow across the sky. There is a purity in your energies. The colors are distinct, and once you are able to see them in their purity and in their absolute condensed form, you can also see when one gets converted into the other. You feel as if your soul is changing its color like a chameleon. After some witnessing, you realize that the energy within you can be transmuted. Its form can be deliberately changed. This knowing frees you to some extent from the clutches of the distractions within. Earlier, they were like ghosts, but now you can see them and with some practice avoid them also. Now this is really something to applaud. The path of seeking is also the path of purification. If you observe closely the karma of people living on ordinary levels of consciousness, you will find that they are basically creating a hell for themselves. The soul of a common man gets caught up in a vicious cycle of negative karma. The path gradually detoxifies your soul of all the poisons you have accumulated over the incarnations. And this is done with karmic fasting, that is, becoming a bit passive in your doing and the purifying agent of suffering. God uses suffering like a medicine and administers it to you in controlled amounts. Suffering does what nothing else could do. It makes you realize that you cannot harm the other without harming yourself. As someone said, God uses a thorn to pull a thorn out of your soul. So the seeker has to go through a lot of suffering. People can only see the suffering and are often misled. What it is doing to him can be sensed by only a few. Even the seeker himself is sometimes numbed by the pain and unable to see the purpose of it all. But soon he is able to reduce every such episode into a lesson and move ahead. The journey of a spirit can often leave you very lonely and deserted. Such quests are an exception to the rule, and the design of the system we live in has no consideration for them at all. A seeker therefore finds it very hard fitting into the social setup. He is often absolutely alone on a deserted path with nothing but a north star of his inner longing to guide him. The path of salvation is not a beaten track. You do not find many footprints on it. In fact, that is what makes a Tao Te Ching so valuable. Those are Lao Tzu's footprints, and they assure you that someone walked that way 25 centuries ago. A seeker has to accept this lack of company and realize that he shall have to sponsor his journey himself. You can expect a lot to happen in your life when you are seeking the truth. If there is something that you need to know, God will make arrangements for the same. And many a times you will find half a dozen tracks of your life running in parallel. I remember that in 2008, I was struggling as a musician, working on improving my marriage with the yoga of relationships, as Shri Ram Das calls it, bringing up my first child, wrestling with addictions and negativity, dealing with all the uncooperative relatives and much more. I really felt like a country that has declared war against all its neighboring states and is coping with all of them simultaneously. But now, when I look back at it, I can see that I needed all of it to straighten my soul. It was as if God was working on the dents in my soul with a wooden hammer. So rest assured that whatever comes your way is exactly what you need to evolve, even if it is a sickness, a disease. Just trust God's compassion and stay in an attitude of gratitude. As someone who has walked on that road for almost 20 years, I can guarantee that God will never give you something you don't need, and He will never let you down. Towards the end of the path, the focus will be on eliminating your resistance to the divine will and cleansing the connecting link between you and the source. Dr. Wayne has said it so well. He says, the question is not whether you are connected to the source or not. The question is how corroded that link is. By the end of the path, you will find yourself tired and exhausted, and you would wish to rejuvenate yourself in order to live longer and share your experiences with the rest of the world. This desire itself will bring to your notice what fatigued you in the first place. You will discover how your ambitions, your desires, your occupation with the past and the future, self-centeredness, comparison and competition, and all such ways of thinking kept you distanced from bliss. For the first time you realize that there was no need for you to struggle all these decades. You could have simply allowed life to unfold through you. You come to know that your exhaustion is because of trying to control the uncontrollable and telling God what to do and what not to, instead of listening to His silent instructions. After a long and tiring journey, you finally find yourself drifting into a dimension where you can rest for the rest of your life. You are drifting towards a surrender.